At first, we witness a captivating experiment where an egg undergoes an injection, which makes it duplicate and takes on a more elegant shape. Following this intriguing spectacle, we watch as a dazzling star in Hollywood, specifically dedicated to Elisabeth, a woman past her prime in the entertainment industry. She is the host of her very own television aerobics show, and today is her birthday, and the air is filled with cheerful congratulations from friends and fans alike. However, a twist of fate awaits her. The women's restroom is temporarily closed. With a mix of urgency and embarrassment, she seeks refuge in the men's restroom, where she overhears a conversation between Harvey, the show's producer, and his staff. He declares that it might be time for the show to move on from her, in favor of a younger, more glamorous replacement. Shock and sorrow wash over her as she realizes her time in the spotlight may be dimming. Later, sharing a seemingly ordinary lunch with Harvey, she tries to mask her turmoil as he broaches the topic of revitalizing their ratings with new talent. Returning home, her heart heavy, she glances at her once proud poster, only to find it being dismantled, an unwelcome symbol of the end of an era. In a moment of distraction, she accidentally causes the crash. She wakes up in the hospital, her body unharmed, but her spirit shaken. Tests reveal that she's perfectly fine, and they set her free to walk back into the world. As she dresses to leave, a young doctor slips something into her pocket, a mysterious substance accompanied by a phone number. At that time, she encounters Fred, old friend from school, who seems excited to see her, and he drops a number so she can give him a call. She comes home and checks to see what she got. A single injection promising to unlock her fullest potential, rejuvenating her into the best and youngest version of herself. Initially dismissing the prospect, she tosses the flyer into the trash. Yet, later that evening, as she gazes at her reflection in the mirror, doubt creeps in, and a flicker of curiosity ignites within her. In a sudden twist of resolve, she retrieves the discarded flyer and picks up a phone, ready to take the leap and call the number listed, eager to explore the possibility that could change everything. Tomorrow she looks at the news, her heart sinking as she learns that whispers of her replacement are already circulating. Just then, a mail catches her eye, about a package she's been waiting for, complete with a reference to its unique number. Determined, she looks down at the address on her palm for location, guiding her next move. With a surge of resolve, she sets off to the address, her mind racing as she searches for the elusive package number, eager to bring a piece of normalcy back home. In it, there is an activator that is used only once, a stabilizer every day, a switch every week, and there is food for both. Elisabeth is on a quest to unveil a better version of herself, eagerly injecting the potent activator. Almost instantly, a wave of dizziness washes over her, and she collapses to the ground, cries of anguish spilling from her lips. Something within her back stirs, alighting a transformation as a new eye blossoms into existence. In that moment, she awakens to a renewed vitality. A younger, more radiant incarnation of herself emerges, teeming with beauty and the promise of endless possibility. She looks at her new body and young skin, then observes the old one that now needs mending. She feeds the old body, which also requires care. Then she talks to hear the sound of her own voice and tasting blood from her nose, as she needs a stabilizer specifically to transfer fluid from the old body to the new one, a process that must be done daily. After 7 days, she must switch back to the old body to maintain balance. Fueled by newfound inspiration and brimming with confidence, she strides into a casting call, ready to make her mark. There, she captivates the judges and Harvey by introducing herself as Sue, a name that feels like a fresh start. In an instant, she secures a role, dazzling everyone around her and blossoming like a star reborn. As she dives into photo shoots and rehearsals for her upcoming show, she embraces each day with unwavering dedication, always relying on her trusty stabilizer to keep her grounded and focused. A week glides by, and the hour has come to return to her former self. She adjusts the switcher, wakes up, and observes her new form. She prepares to meet Harvey, who is getting ready for her departure. He hands her a few cherished keepsakes from her past, along with a thoughtful gift wrapped with care. She goes home and makes a schedule for which person is assigned to which day. After that, she receives a letter that says her filler kit has arrived, and she immediately goes to pick it up. The next day is for Sue, who looks outside from her apartment and enjoys her skin, Back in her room, she looks at the old body, then starts drilling into the wall to create a new space to store it. Shortly after, she meets Oliver, who complains about the noise, but as soon as he sees her, he gazes at her and offers her a big hammer if she needs it. Later, she stores the old body in the new room, and she heads off to her new show titled Pump It Up. Harvey and her team are pleased with the show. Later that evening, as she prepares to go out with her new friends, she meets a guy and invites him over, but suddenly starts bleeding and loses consciousness. She quickly goes to grab a stabilizer, but having run out of fluid, she decides to make an exception by using an extra dose, which makes her feel better, allowing her to return back. The next day, she wakes up and notices her finger looks older than usual. She heads to wash it, but it doesn't change. She calls to inform them that a few hours of extra use caused an alteration, but they respond that after using it, things cannot go back to how they were before. The only option is to stop everything and just be herself, without the younger version, Sue, who allegedly decided to extend the situation. Later, while vacuuming, a TV show comes on that Elisabeth watches Sue and immediately turns off. Then Oliver, the neighbor, appears asking for private lessons from Sue, as if he might actually get them. She heads for a filler, only to feel a prickling sensation on the back of her neck that somebody is trailing her. Glancing over her shoulder, she spots an older man who bears the same distinctive mark on his arm. Just then, he inadvertently drops his wallet, and as he picks it up, she can't help but notice the number similar to her. It belongs to the very young doctor who had helped her earlier. Panic grips Elisabeth, her heartbeat quickening as dread washes over her. She goes home with her fingers brush against her belongings, and she retrieves Fred's number, her mind racing with a mix of urgency and hope. Without a second thought, she dials, eager to arrange a dinner date that might just anchor her amidst the storm brewing around her. As she carefully applies her makeup, each stroke brushes her closer to perfection. Yet, just when she believes she's finally ready to step out, the playful younger version of herself tugs at her, insisting on adding just a bit more until her once flawless face becomes an artful mess of colors. In the end, she finds herself homebound, surrounded by smeared reflections, while Fred's messages ping persistently on her phone, waiting for a reply that never comes. The next day, Sue made her way to the studio for the show. However, an inexplicable occurrence unfolded to stop the recording. Sue slipped away to the restroom, where a peculiar transformation took place when she emerged a perfectly roasted chicken leg, then complained to the provider that Elisabeth does not respect the balance. Sue comes back, but they are saying that the show is canceled. Sue made her way to Harvey's office, where he excitedly revealed the thrilling news. People adored her, and she was being promoted to host the New Year's Eve, the most watched live show in the world. Overjoyed, Sue dashed home, exhilarated by the opportunity, but soon found herself taking Elisabeth's more time off for extra days. As a result, her body began to lose life energy. Eventually, Elisabeth reached out, expressing her frustration, declaring that Sue's constant demands were selfish and excessive. They ask her again if she wants to stop the process and just be as she currently is. She looks at herself and says she can't stop now, but balance must be respected by both. That evening, as she settled into her chair, she tried to stretch her leg, which felt increasingly stiff and unyielding. Just then, Harvey surprised her with a thoughtful gift, a beautiful cookbook. She experimented with one of its recipes, pouring her creativity into the dish. While on TV, Sue appears. Her twists and turns began to grate on her nerves. Elisabeth loses herself and behaves aggressively while preparing dinner, culminating in throwing things at the TV and covering every photo of Sue with a newspaper, and then go to take a shift with Sue. When Sue returns, she sees the mess and decides that Elisabeth will never return by draining all her energy, saving for the 3 months with fluid she lived as Sue without a switch. The next day is her biggest show, and she gazes at a poster with her boyfriend. She heads out to get a dose of the stabilizer, but there's no more fluid. Not feeling well and in urgent need, she calls the provider, who tells her the only way to regenerate the fluid is to switch bodies again, meaning for the New Year's show, she must become Elisabeth. Sue collapses and barely crawls to the other room, where she switches with Elisabeth, who exits all exhausted. In that moment, her boyfriend approaches, and Elisabeth quickly shuts the door so he won't see her, yelling sharply that he doesn't recognize her, and runs away. Gazing into the mirror, she is met with a reflection that sends a shiver down her spine. With a deep breath, she steps through the door and dials a number, her voice steady yet laced with urgency as she declares her intention to quit for good. The response is swift, and soon a final kit arrives at her doorstep. Draped in a costume that obscures her identity, she emerges, startling Oliver with her haunting appearance, who runs away for his life. Heart racing, she takes the kit in hand and prepares herself for the termination injection intended for Sue. Yet, at that moment, memories of past glories flood her mind, reminding her of the electrifying thrill she once chased. She realizes with a jolt that tonight is her grandest performance yet, igniting a fierce desire to reclaim her former life on stage, and decides that she still wants this body. In an urgency, she grasps the switcher, determined to revert to her former self and escape the clutches of eternal old age. With a steady hand, she conducted a blood transfusion, and in a remarkable twist of fate, Sue wakes up, and for the first time they are both present together at the same time. As Sue's realization struck that Elisabeth prepared to eliminate her, she lunged at Elisabeth, full of rage, inflicting wounds with relentless ferocity, until at last, Elisabeth lies lifeless. In those final moments, an unsettling truth echoed in Sue's mind. They were two halves of the same whole, destined to coexist and forever intertwined. They can't live one without the other. As she headed for the evening's performance, a stunning blue dress arrived, igniting a flicker of excitement within her. However, a wave of discomfort washed over her, prompting a quick retreat to the restroom. There, to her shock, she spat out a tooth, followed by several more in an unsettling cascade, stealing away her radiant smile. Yet, a glimmer of hope emerged. She recalled the activator stashed away, a means to transform herself into an even better version of who she was destined to be. She quickly heads out and runs into Harvey with the shareholders. She dazzles them with a small smile and rushes to the elevator, only to lose a nail followed by an ear. She races outside to reach the activator, which states it can only be used once. Regardless, she injects it into herself, and the transformation begins. She rises, only to confront the reflection staring back at her, the most unrecognizable version of herself. With a heavy heart, she gazes at the poster of her idol, slips into the shimmering dress, and playfully adorns her head with a picture of Elisabeth, all while applying bright lipstick. Gathering her courage, she steps out for the show, where every smiling face greets her as if she were Sue. Yet deep inside, she knows this joyous facade exists only within the confines of her mind. As the audience buzzed with anticipation for the event to begin, she gracefully ascended the stage, only to be met with bewildered glances and whispers of confusion. Suddenly, her mask slipped from her face, and gasps erupted from the crowd as they branded her a monster, chaos unfurling as people scrambled to escape. Security rushed toward her, but through her tears, she pleaded, "I'm Elisabeth." In a swift surge of panic, they descended upon her. Yet what followed was beyond comprehension. She began to regenerate, whirling like a ballerina, as blood sprayed in every direction. Just as suddenly, she faltered, collapsing to the ground, her head remaining upright as she navigated towards the spot where her star would shine, ultimately cleansing into the shattered star. A character on the rise, eager to make her mark, but caught in a struggle to maintain a sense of self amidst the pressures to conform. Her experiences reflect the journey of many who grapple with their image and self-worth in a hyper-competitive environment. The character experiences a duality between her original self and the version created through this substance. There is an underlying tension about choices made regarding the use of the substance, implying that the pursuit of beauty comes with inherent risks, including loss of self. The narrative crescendos with her decision to reclaim her authenticity, leading to a heart-wrenching yet liberating acceptance of her current self. It critiques the entertainment industry's obsession with youth, portraying the struggles of older women in Hollywood. The cost of fame. It delves into the psychological ramifications of fame and the moral compromises individuals make to remain relevant. The substance critiques societal beauty standards and explores deep-seated issues surrounding identity, self-acceptance, and the consequences of drastic life choices. The tension between the two identities creates a chilling narrative that resonates deeply with contemporary themes regarding the pressures faced by women in the modern age. The substance invites viewers to reflect on their identities, the societal pressures they face, and the true meaning of self-acceptance.